Hello, my friends. I am your humble spud, and welcome to Dagon. Dagon? Dagon? I don't know. It's a Lovecraft story, but the reviews on this are overwhelmingly positive on Steam, and it's Lovecraft, so I figured, it must be pretty decent. But I wanted to try this out, so yeah, let's. I'm actually gonna turn up my gamma here, just a little bit. It's a little better. All right, let's jump in, shall we? All right. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. Interesting.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Ooh. Alright. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Interesting. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Zoom. We really like good zoom.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Okay.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Zoom!
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
It's pretty. It's a little jarring that I can't move, but, it's not that kind of story. Not that kind of game.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Interesting. I've never read this particular short story, so I don't really know what happens. I don't know anything about it really.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Okay. Good. It's always... Oh, here we go. Well, it's good you went kind of prepared, at least.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Yeah, it's water. Water everywhere.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
This kind of makes me want to play... There's another game called Sailwind. It's basically just a sailing simulator type of game. This kind of makes me want to play more of that. All right, do I need to look for... Oh. Here we go.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
This is really pretty. Oh, here we go. There we go.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Ooh.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its
What?
details I shall never know.
Uh-oh.
For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Cthulhu? Whoa. Whoa. We've been transported.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Yeah.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Right.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh, what are you? It's an elder sign. Origins of, okay. Seems to be inspired by Fish Head, a short novel by Irvin S. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature, H.P. Lovecraft, and Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. Ugh. I dreamed that whole hideous crawl, and yet can feel the ooze sucking me down in defense of the story. Okay. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to sea and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. You can read the discovered trivia immediately or go back to them later in the main menu. Oh, okay. I don't know too much about Lovecraft personally, but I do know that he was kind of haunted by nightmares and a lot of really crazy stuff. He wasn't exactly the most,
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
That is moving. But yeah, Lovecraft was a very troubled person, clearly.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Man, this is really well done.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Oh, it's the sun. Okay, I'm like, why is the shadow moving? Why is the shadow moving so much?
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Man.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Okay.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
All right. So this is, oh, here we go. This is a little different of a horror experience than I'm used to, but still.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Ooh, These are really... Oof. So it's... This is very different than what I'm used to in a horror experience, but it's still very good. Whale... I don't like what these... I don't like...
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
I wonder if Cthulhu shows up.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
Because like I said, I've never read this particular short story, so I don't really know how this all plays out.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Can't look at too many of the stars, but it's pretty. That's really pretty.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Zoom. Zoom. All right.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
Whoa.
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Do I gotta... Yeah, there we go.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
Whoa, it's so foggy. I can't see anything.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
We shouldn't be here.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Well, we shouldn't have been here ever since, we found the whole undulating tentacles and everything. But here is a little bit more frightening. These.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone,
like
I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
going towards the monolith. That's a good
The
idea.
moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith,
And there's a bit of markings, symbols.
on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Yeah.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for
Yep,
the
there he
most
is,
part
Cthulhu,
of
right in the center.
conventionalized aquatic
Right there.
symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Or at least I'm assuming that's him. It doesn't look quite like, is it? Yeah. Because if that's wings, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
All right. Contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed. Okay. Carvings, character notes, islands emerging from the ocean. Yes. Fictional beings and deities based on real events. Interesting. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of the Lovecraft's other stories also include a manner of similar. Okay.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto,
Woo.
or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
Yeah.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
This is, yeah.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Oh.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size,
Yeah, that's big.
but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Okay.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist,
Yes.
I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Ooh, saw what?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh.
Vast, Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith,
Whoa.
about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Whoa.
I think I went mad then.
Little. I think anybody would.
Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
I think anybody would go mad after seeing that. So I don't blame him.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Ooh. It's the effects of the Lovecraftian...
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Your mind has been affected by... Yes.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe. Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Oh, Dagon. So that's how you pronounce it. Okay. Dagon was the main entity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon, as it was a common noun for grain. The rulers of, okay, I'm going to start mispronouncing things. Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew, the word Dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's word Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones. As a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans, he is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Ooh. Oh, what's this?
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Alright, let's see. The Necronomicon. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. What are the other ones here? Can I see what the other ones are? Just picture stories and okay. Ooh, what's this? Okay. Is there anything to focus on? No? Just a clock. No? Doors.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
The thing? What thing? What thing?
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men. Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat, after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed.
Ugh. What is that word? Thalassophobia? Oof, man. Yeah. No.
Worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite.
Ooh. Ooh. No. The thought of things being deep underneath the ocean is terrifying.
I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh. Oh. Zoom. Oh.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Oh no. Who's it gonna be?
It shall not find me.
Which one's it gonna be? Is it gonna be the one at the monolith, or is it gonna be Cthulhu, or something else? Do I hide?
God, that hand!
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
The window! The window!
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Okay, here we go. And I think we died. Yep. Okay. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games. Oh. Ooh, Cthulhu's Bedtime Stories. Nocturnes. Interesting. That's cool. Alright, well, let me go back to the main menu here. Oh gosh, I missed a ton. Oh, okay, well, well, that was Dagon, a Lovecraftian story. This game is free on Steam, so it was a really, really interesting experience. It was a little different than any other horror game that I'm used to playing, because I couldn't move or anything like that. It was mostly just a point and click for me and listening to the story, but that was an experience. That was really cool, especially also considering I haven't read that short story in particular. So yeah, that was great, fantastic. If you guys wanted to check it out for yourselves and experience it for yourselves, it is on Steam. Like I said, it's free. So yeah, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.